The Rocket Review is sponsored by Why Not Saloon.
We're so pleased to have on the show two amazing Nashville-based sidemen, hired guns, whatever you want to call them, also authors. I've got Seth Costner and Matt Maxwell. They have written the new book, Hired Musician. Thanks for coming on the show, guys.
Thanks for having us, man.
You know, it's so much fun. I was telling both of you, you know, knowing your work as musicians and keeping up with you around town, and I've got to brag on both of you to where, you know, Seth, obviously, you know, you've got your regular gig, you know, with Chris Young, and then Matt, you're out on the road with Luke Combs. In between, you guys also wrote a book. And, you know, it was so fun to me, and we were talking about it, Matt. What a fun way to give back. And I know you do clinics when you're on the road also, but kind of trying to share and help out musicians that want to get a gig.
Yeah, I can empathize. I know the before and after, so I can see it from that vantage point.
Well, and I think that, you know, what you guys addressed in here, though, is so cool because all three of us come from tiny little towns. Mm-hmm. And you know, and when you move to Nashville, there's a couple musicians here. You know, and Seth is like, you know, being a keyboardist and obviously using your Nord keyboard, which the most popular one in Nashville. How did you differentiate yourself when you got here?
That's an interesting question. When I came here, I actually started out playing more guitar. And so, funny enough, I realized, you know, if you really want to get work, it's not a bad thing to be diverse and versatile. Mm-hmm. So I started playing more keys, and then I started introducing a little banjo and a little mandolin, and I started getting more calls. And then I don't know, I feel like maybe there's not quite as many keyboard players as maybe other instrumentalists in Nashville, so I just kind of thought of it, you know, business minded, like how can I, you know, have an edge here and get more work. And so yeah, that's kind of how I got started.
You saw a path that needed cleared and you cleared it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, and the same with you, Matt, as an incredible bass player. You know, it's like I don't know why it's always so hard to find, you know, strong bass players and drummers and keyboardists, but you can kick a rock and hit a guitar. It's pretty easy. And so it's like, so I mean, so for you, once again, filling a niche.
Yes.
You know, and you know, coming out of Oklahoma, you know, as a teenager and playing gigs back there and with your band, but then, you know, you come to Nashville and both you guys have played and toured with so many different artists. And being able to share some of the things you learned, and I like a lot of the quotes too, you know, in here about, you know, being on time. So, you know, it seems like simple things.
Exactly.
But, you know, like we were talking before we came in studio, you know, being a good hang, you know, is just as important as being a fabulous musician, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, for me, it's been more important to be, you know, more amiable and stuff. Yeah, because I mean, you know, I've got all the heroes I look up to, and usually when I meet them, they are nice as well, but I am a far cry from them skill-wise. But where I've always felt like I've done okay is interpersonally, and that has aided me as much, if not more, than my abilities.
But, you know, I think that's what's so much fun on the book is, you know, I think my favorite area is myths. Because there's so many myths, and we were talking about this too, to where it's like, you know, you'll have a musician that comes in, it's just like amazing. Like in their small town, it's like going, all hail, you know, this person. And you come to Nashville, it's like going, yeah, you're okay. Yeah. But also, how do you fit into the band package, right?
Right. Yeah, it's humbling, you know, to come here and be surrounded by so much talent. But yeah, I like the myths chapter as well.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
Yeah, and one of the myths that I really like in there is that music is not a real job. But as you and I both know, as all three of us know, it is. It's hard work and dedication, and you know, so we try to dispel some of those myths that, you know, maybe we hear people say like, well, you know, when are you going to get a real job? Well, it's work. You know,
it's a lot of work. You know, that's what we were talking about too, to where, you know, everybody, you know, sees you guys on stage with these major artists, and both of you have toured and played with such incredible artists over the years, and a lot of them together, how you guys kind of met each other.
We have.
You know, but also it's like they only see you on stage for that few hours and go, Matt, look at that gig. You know, what was the Dire Straits, Money for Nothing and Checks for Free? It's like people think, oh yeah, just that, but they don't realize the travel time, the practice, the sound check. You know, all those times when you're not on stage.
Missing birthdays, weddings, funerals.
That's got to be hard.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, what's the quote in the book about, you know, there's 24 hours in the day, but, you know, you might be on stage for 2 of them, you know, but the other 22 is kind of what keeps you employed, you know, and that we talk about that in the book, you know, just all the different things you can do to stay employable, you know, and it's, we've already talked about this a little bit. It's not just about talent, you know.
Right.
It's not just about how well you do this or this, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you know, and Matt, you brought that up too, to where, you know, so many musicians come in and are incredible, but you know, but maybe they aren't good socially. You know, because you know, when you're with a band, and like you were talking, you know, you're with 7 other band members on a bus on the road. You guys got to get along.
You live together. Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's like your second family.
Yep.
You know, that you're traveling with, besides the ones you have back at your home.
Right.
But you got to get along.
You have to, yeah. I mean, that's a huge part of it. I mean, you know, like you said, you're playing for 1 hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, but you're essentially living with your coworkers.
Right.
Which I mean, there are a few career fields like that, but not a ton.
No, no, not many. And also, you know, I got to brag on both you guys because you won't. But it's like, but to rise in an area like Nashville, which both of you are, and to have flourishing careers and playing with such amazing artists, not easy. But it's also that networking part, you know, to where, you know, the last band, you know, it was so thrilled with you and what you do in studio and on the road.
Yeah.
You know, it's networking with the right people, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
for sure. I mean, that's another point in the book, and you know, that's something when I moved to Nashville, I didn't realize how important it was to just get out there and get to know people.
Right.
You know, because you can sit in your bedroom all day and shred, but if nobody knows you're there doing it and nobody hears you, you're not going to get work.
Right.
And
It's a team sport, and
Yeah.
as a predominantly an instrumentalist, I mean, exclusively an instrumentalist, I am dependent on other, you know, musicians
Yeah.
for
Right.
work. You know, I'm not necessarily going out there playing solo bass and stuff like that. So I really need other people. So the better I play well with others, you know, the better that is for me. You know, I was thinking about this as y'all were talking about the interpersonal stuff. It's, you know, a lot of these employers, and really with any job, they don't really have time to train you psychologically or train you in that way. They're just
Right.
like, hey, show up and play music, and please have this. You know, they don't say that, but they need you to be well trained in getting along with people. And they don't have time to fix that.
No.
But you know what I mean. So
Yeah.
they need you to show up ready in that area. So, anyways, it's an interesting component of it all that because it's all about the flash and the show and the notes and that's what is presented aesthetically. So you don't think about it, but I mean, there's just so much behind the scenes.
Well, you know, and that's what I thought was so fun about this book, and that it's such a great read and a valuable. And I think it's one of those books too, to where reading it once is not going to be enough. And I'm glad it's available on Kindle and audiobook.
And short.
Yeah. but what is so great about it to me though is it's one of those books, you know, Matt and Seth, I got to tell you guys, to where I think you need to go through and highlight it. You know, like highlight the major parts that really strike a chord with you. Music reference, so. But you know, and then go back to it.
And we're all different, so there's going to
Yeah.
be things that jump out to, you know, one person may, wow, I'm so easy to get along with, and then there's a chapter about music. Oh, but maybe I need to work on my scales.
Right.
If you know all your scales, maybe I need to be nicer to people.
Right.
And find those
I
areas
think
and highlight
find
them.
those things and highlight them, and then go back to them and apply them to yourselves. Just like we were talking about, you know, having that lack of ego. You know, it's like, you know, everybody thinks, you know, they're going to be the front and center on the stage, and maybe you're not, and maybe you will be eventually, but maybe you are, you know, a side man or a hired gun, however you want to phrase it, and that's a great role too. And a lot of people make a great living in Nashville doing it.
I love it.
But also, you have to be very good at your job.
Yeah.
And your job is to be on time, play the right notes, have the right gear, have gear that works, and have the right attitude.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where people just don't, you know, like you said, Seth, it was such a good point where it's like, you know, it's like the kid shredding in the basement going, I can play all of these. It's like going, and it's like, how is that going to work when you're playing out on the road with somebody else?
Right.
You know,
yeah.
instead of just like you said when you saw Vince Gill the other night,
Yeah.
you know, it's like the right notes in the right places.
Right.
There's a lot to be said for that. And we were talking about, you know, music theory and certainly, you know, the Nashville number system, which is predominant here.
Yeah.
And then whereas on the West Coast in LA, it's all about the jazz chord charts.
Yeah.
Right.
But you have to be, you know, and I know both of you are very steeped in music theory.
Yeah.
And so when they, you know, it's like, so if the singer, you know, has to move it down a half,
Yeah. Half step. Yeah.
you can accomplish that.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like, well, we always play it in A. Well, we're not tonight.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know?
there's certain things each genre has, and it's like if you're making a burger, there are certain elements that are going to make it a hamburger.
Right.
Right.
And so if you're playing a certain genre where the bass fills a certain role,
Yeah.
you should probably, honor that if you're being paid for it.
You're making me hungry.
Well, and as you brought up too, Matt, which I love this, is where it's not always about the most expensive, best bass. Sometimes it's the bass that fits you
Sure.
and that fits the artist that you're supporting.
Yeah.
And makes the sound man happy. It's good to keep them happy.
Yeah. I like to.
Because then your in-ears are right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like a big part of the career is like making others happy, service industry kind of mindset. That's the way I've always kind of approached it. And it's not the only way, but it's what has worked for me. And that was, for us, putting it into the book, it's like, okay, here's some things that work for us. And we try to take a step back from that and go, this worked for us. We think it'll work for other people. And then that just kind of spawned all these other ideas of things that we've seen other people struggle with or ourselves, to kind of paint this broad picture of like, okay, we all have strengths and weaknesses, like, on a video game. It's like, you pick this character, their attributes are maybe they're strong here. It's same with music skills. And so hopefully with a lot of the stuff in the book, people look through it and go, okay, I'm strong at this, weak at this. And then if nothing else, then they know. It's like you pull the curtain back and go, if you want this, here's some things to get that. And then people can choose or not choose, but at least now they know.
Right.
Yeah.
And and what I love that both you guys did, and I don't know how you found the time to do this book, and with all the touring and recording you do, but it's like it's applied knowledge, and to me it's something that all of us, whether you're a touring musician or not, you can take this and read it and apply it to everything, even if you're playing in a local band.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
And you're not doing world tours like both of you, but it's like it's still helpful because we've all had rough band instances.
Yeah.
And it's like, and if you read this and apply it to your life and apply it to the instrument and everything that you're doing, it's just going to make life better.
Yes.
And so that you can get that gig. And certainly in Nashville and Austin and major, music hubs.
Yeah.
What makes you different? Why are they going to give you the call? Why are they going to call you, Seth, and say, yeah, come out on tour with us?
Yeah.
Because, there are only so many, musicians that get to do that.
So many spots.
Right.
Yeah,
especially with
sure.
the level of artists that both of you are playing with.
Yeah.
And I think another thing too, I want to bring this up, and we're going to give the website and everything where the book's available. I know there's going to be book signings, but I can't wait to see what you guys do out on the road with some videos for this, where, you guys are going to like interview some of your, band members that are with you guys on tour. And then, talk with them and go, hey, what do you and pull out something from a chapter. Constant growth. It's like going, how are, because we all want to be better musicians. I think that's the great thing about music and playing instruments is you always want to grow and be better. And it's kind of like that art to where you can never be the best, but you can always make yourself better.
Yeah, and learn from others.
Right.
Yeah.
Even when you go out and see other bands play and you're like going, I can take that lick.
my gosh.
I can take those chordings. I can take that bass lick and apply it.
Yep.
But I mean, it's so cool that with the book out, I know you guys are doing some book signings. You've got, like I said, in multiple formats. I say get the hard copy though too and get it autographed. What is the website to keep up with everything with The Hired Musician, a guide to getting and keeping gigs? What do you guys say?
Yeah, you can go to hiredmusician.com and check it out. We'll have links to pick up the book.
Very easy to do.
Yeah.
Couple clicks and you're there.
So you guys are probably like huge in your hometowns now. So there's going to be like book signings there when you go back.
My mom loves me.
Yeah. And so is everybody and both your families, for Alabama and Oklahoma, they're getting like signed copies for Christmas.
That's right. Everyone's getting one.
It's so funny. I did that too, to where it's like when mine came out, I was like going, hey, you're getting a copy of the book. It's like, oh, thanks.
Oh, great. Love you.
But it's
like
going to be
getting
so
a picture of yourself in the frame.
Right. So here you go. But it's such a cool thing that you guys did, and I think it's going to expand and help a lot of people, just like the clinics that you do. Helping out artists and everything. Everybody wants to learn, and you guys are really doing so well in the field. And to share that information from inside is nice. It's a nice sharing to do that.
Thank you, Eric.
And I think a lot of people are going to gain a lot from this book. Be sure to get your own copy. Like I said, get it in the paper-bound copy. Hired Musician, a guide to getting and keeping gigs. I got to tell you, Matt and Seth, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you, Eric.
Look forward to seeing you guys out on tour also. And at a book signing.
The Rocket Review is sponsored by Why Not Saloon.